Do you want me not to do anything? Got it. Hi, Jenna.
Hi, couple. We're recording this now.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I'm Jenna, and this is my dear friend Kapil Kakran from India, who's joining us from Delhi, India, and we're gonna have a really interesting conversation. We just had a really interesting conversation, so we're getting on here to record it for other people to be able to hear it. So, Kapil, will you start by talking about what's going on in India? Well, let me just make a theme real quick. We're wanting to talk about the multidimensional aspects of health and healing and healthcare. And Kapil, will you get us started by talking about what's going on in India? Are you breaking things?
No, actually, like we were talking about the vaccination. No, like, is it safe to be vaccinated or no, or what exactly this new virus is? And the government doesn't know about this coronavirus, but we are just assuming it is this, and we are just preparing ourselves or our children for vaccination. So is it safe? So you had a great point about this. Like, is it actually safe, or do we know about it? Like, do we exactly know about what this virus is? So you had this amazing like idea of this. You connected this virus or disease with some kind of, I don't know, metaphysical thing.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting. So I wanted to know about that more. Like,
okay.
because, yeah.
Well, maybe before we go into the metaphysical part, which I'm really wanting to do also, is to talk about how you brought up this idea that a lot of people are talking about, that this is just a virus. It's like the Spanish flu, like the Black Plague, it's like polio. We just need vaccines for these things so that they will go away. And we need to comply.
I had this like, notion in my mind, like, 90 years back, we had Spanish flu and a lot of people died out of it. And we have a lot of like viruses, like we had a lot of viruses in like, past. So, and we are vaccinated, like when we are born, we are vaccinated with bunch of vaccines. So yes, I can't say like, vaccination is bad because I have been vaccinated. Like we had polio medications, we had hepatitis vaccinations. So I can't blame just government, that's bad. So that is what I was saying. Like maybe we are like judging the government a lot. Like the vaccinations are bad, we can question our government. But at the same time, I feel like, corona is just like, it has just come like 1 or 2 years back, and we have very less to study about it. We have not researched it well. Yet we come with the idea of vaccination is the only solution. And we don't know, like we are our body is very different. They are like my body's maybe different than yours, but the same vaccination will work for both of us. That is very difficult to understand. And I don't know, I've heard like people are dying because of vaccination also, because of corona also. So I am very confused about this. And I don't know, is it right or not?
Right. And then you were also talking about how people are getting vaccinations, and then we're being
They're also
told
dying.
that not only that they're dying, which is very important, of course, and also that the virus is changing and mutating, and that we're going to need to get another vaccine and maybe another.
Right. Yeah, it's changing, it's mutating every 3 months. So why we are vaccinating ourselves?
Yeah. And you also were talking about how you've had corona 2 different times and your body was able to fight it off, and you're a young, strong guy. So yeah, maybe that's a special condition that you have that not everybody else has. But I think there's some importance in the conversation still to say there are also young, strong people who are getting it, who are not doing well. And some young, strong people. I'm not super young, and I consider myself to be relatively strong, and I haven't contracted it at all. I haven't been sick at all. Knock on Saraswati that doesn't happen. But I haven't been sick at all in the last year and a half, other than like some sneezing. I've sneezed a whole bunch today. I don't think that makes me sick. But nevertheless, you've had it twice, and there's just all these different pieces of the conversation that I think are important to bring together, and also to look at some new perspectives too, to talk about that multidimensional metaphysical realm that science is catching up with. And something that I've been saying a lot lately and thinking about lately is, people were saying, it's the science, and I trust science, and do your research. And there's so much variables in the science, and so many variables in the research. And so I want to talk about the variable of consciousness. And for me, the thing I was going to say, that if people aren't talking about the variable of consciousness in their science, and I don't want to have that conversation. I'm not interested in the conversations that don't include the aspect of consciousness. And in India,
Right.
not only in Hinduism, I believe, but in India, in a more general sense, there's more of an awareness of consciousness. But I also know you guys are really westernized in a lot of ways, and just following modern science and looking at
Right.
what we can perceive with our five senses as reality.
Yeah.
So we were talking about how the conditions, the diseases that in the past and in the present that people have needed vaccines for, and that's been really important in controlling disease. And then we're also talking about how vaccines are relevant for conditions that we've been able to measure and perceive for only the last 100 years, since the 20th century, which was not a long time ago. And before that time, our human perception on disease wasn't about bacteria and the unseen realm that we can now see
Right.
because of technology. But that people were calling it spirits, right?
Yeah.
And
So basically, Jenna, before you start, so yeah, so the thing was like, I was thinking it like a disease, like, it just came, it is a virus and people are dying. So it's a disease. But you came with a very different notion, like you had a different, altogether different theory about this, and which is very interesting. So that is why maybe we are talking about this, no? So
okay.
yes, and like that is a knowledge part, okay, which you'll say, but also like you as a human, as a like person, you're also very sad about this, no?
Mm-hmm.
Like somewhere you're very sad about what's happening on earth, and why are you very sad about this, and what
Okay.
exactly is making you feel very, very like low or sad, like
Yeah.
what is it? So I want to know about that,
Okay.
related to
Thank
corona
you.
or this maybe virus and pandemic.
Yeah, I appreciate that
Hmm.
opportunity. Yeah. Yeah, if I can just kind of tap into that place of vulnerability that feels really, really fucking sad
Right.
about what's happening on the planet, and the level of powerlessness that I feel perceiving it, and the level of powerlessness that I see that people are convinced of in themselves. And that feeling that we have to look outside of ourselves to have power, to be safe, to be healthy, to be free. It feels like a big fucking illusion to me that is really concerning, like that can't be the ultimate truth of our human experience. And I'm a very sensitive person, and that, couple, and you brought that
Right.
up, and you have helped me to see that as a sensitive person, it's like I can feel the powerlessness of the people, and how I also really want to help. But I feel a sense of powerlessness to help, because it's like these big conglomerations, is that the right word? These big organizations are like having the biggest voices and the biggest power and the biggest
Right.
influence. But I also want to be able to talk about the things that I know, that I went to school for energy medicine um, over 15 years ago, and been working with people
Mhm.
on self-healing, and able to see the patterns, and how consciousness does affect our health and the disease process, including
Right.
infections, including even accidents. That disease is very much relevant to consciousness, and we can't really separate the two. We can, but we're just looking at it from a surface, right? We're just looking at it like we're humans in a 2D model. But we know that we're not just a 2D model. We're not just a 3D model. And in a sense, we've been looking at the science of medicine and health and wellness from a 2D and 3D model, cause and
Hmm.
effect, right? Duality, cause and effect,
Right, 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 right.
which is useful if you're willing to be limited to living in a box of a
Hmm.
reality. But we're not 2D people, and we're not even 3D people. We are, but we're much more than that as well. So the 3D model works, but only up to a point, and then
Yeah,
once you get perspectives outside of that 3D model, you can't unsee it.
yeah,
And so that's really frustrating and like so sad for me to know that people have access to recognizing their own health and healing from a multidimensional perspective, but that we're all being hypnotized into believing that we need some big conglomerate business system to make us healthy and to help us to survive. And we really don't. We really don't. We need to know about our own power and our own empowerment. I need to know about my own power, my own empowerment. And it makes me feel really sad when I don't feel like I have a voice to talk about these things. Um, but rather that they just kind of live inside of me and definitely benefit me. And I believe with 100%, I want to say I know 100% that what I know is the reason why I have not gotten sick. And it's a little bit scary for me too to come forward and talk about it because it's unpopular. A lot of people don't
right,
want to hear about it, and
right.
it sounds like
Hmm.
woo woo, voodoo, witchy child from outer space. And maybe I am all those things. I'm a voodoo, witchy child from outer space.
No, maybe like, we need some time, like, just like we were saying, like 100 years back, epilepsy was considered like, some spirit has come to this particular person's body.
Right,
So gradually, when we understood the concept of brain, little bit we know about the brain now, but like gradually when we got to know about the brain, how does brain functions, and this is just a minor issue with the brain. So it was not a spirit thing, no. So it was basically, epilepsy was basically normal issue with the brain, which can be treated with medicine now.
right,
So just like that, maybe like we are 100, like after 100 years, people will actually understand what you're trying to say now. People will understand like it's a virus and it's the thought and it's the power which is making you feel weak, and you are actually, falling under the trap of that powerful people has made. So, I mean, maybe after like some years, after some time, like people will actually understand what you meant, like what you
yeah.
were saying.
I'm
Yeah.
hopeful for
So,
that.
but yeah.
Hopeful. I'm definitely hopeful for that. And I do want to talk about that piece about epilepsy and how, with epilepsy specifically, it's a great example. And it also is relevant for pretty much every other disease, whether it was physical or mental, that we
Hmm.
saw before 100 years ago, before the discovery of chemistry within our biology. So we were able to extend our five senses beyond physical biology and the non-physical realm of the spirit,
Right.
that we could see stuff going on in people's brains and give people surgeries and medications to decrease the experience of epilepsy. I also want to talk about that full circle of bringing in, before we knew about chemistry, there was the awareness of the spirit. And we could say something like the spirit of epilepsy, or the spirit of our ancestors that are somehow creating this condition through our DNA. That's still relevant today. The spirit of epilepsy, the spirit of our ancestors, it is still relevant, because that's a consciousness, it's an intelligence that we could say the spirit of your ancestors couple gave you black hair and made you over 6 feet tall and gave you specific physical appearances, but also the spirit of your ancestors also passed on the propensity for something like epilepsy or another disease process. And then there's another level to that, that is the spirit of our ancestors, the spirit of disease that has its own consciousness, that has its own intelligence, that has its own patterns, that has
Mm.
beliefs within it.
Right.
And Dr. Bruce Lipton talks about this a lot. It's like the consciousness, the biology of what we believe in,
Mm.
the way that consciousness affects our biology, and the way that our beliefs affect our biology. So can we pass on beliefs? Can we pass on the beliefs that might bring on something like epilepsy, right? So in energy medicine and energy healing, we look at um, not only how something like epilepsy makes a person experience their condition physically, right? So like from a physical space, we'd say, if you have epilepsy, then you get seizures and your
Yeah.
body shakes
Fits and
uncontrollably.
yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah. Fits and seizures. Yes.
Yeah, fits and seizures.
Mm.
Yeah, and some people have epilepsy or seizures where they just freeze and go into a daze. My dad
Yeah,
actually
there are
was
different
diagnosed with that.
kind of epilepsies. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So we know the physical experience or the physical out picturing on a physical level of the
Yeah.
biology of something like epilepsy. But in and in energy medicine, we also say, how does that make you feel? Not just to be supportive, but also to recognize the energetic pattern. So we look at the
Right. Right.
energetic
Right.
pattern. When I get seizures, which I don't, but let's just say for a person who has seizures, when I get seizures, I feel out of control. I feel powerless. I feel dependent upon my doctors and people around me to help me. I feel completely
Right.
powerless and out of control.
Mm.
Okay. And then we also look at what was going on in that person's life, if it was a later onset rather than instead of them being born with it, which most people aren't. But we look at what was going on in your life for the epileptic person, what was going on in your life 1 year to 18 months before the epilepsy began, before the seizures
Yeah. So
began.
going into the deeper parts. Yes.
Mhm. Yeah.
Of
We
the
said,
body.
what was
Yeah.
going on in your life in that 12 to 18 month period before the epilepsy started? And they say, oh, well, this was going on, this story, my mother was doing this, and this was happening with my job, and my father was doing this, and my sister was going through this condition. And we go, okay, and how are you feeling about those conditions? And what we see in energy healing, energy medicine, is that there's a match between the out picturing the experience on a
Mm.
physical level. And most of the time there's a matching that happens. And when I have seizures, I feel powerless. I feel out of control. I feel dependent upon people helping me with how they were feeling in that story before the vibrational out picturing through their body occurred. So if you look at me right now as like a timeline, right? If I'm
Right.
holding the space for the epileptic person here as the
Mm.
now moment of the current physical expression that we're measuring, we say before the epilepsy began, I was having these vibrational patterns happening in my life that were getting bigger and bigger. And maybe there was a point where it got really big, and that whole thing, that vibrational pattern, then that vibrational pattern starts to work itself through the vibrational patterns in my body and in my brain and my ways of thinking until it's expressed
Right.
physically, physiologically, biologically, in the ways that we can measure and witness with our five senses, that create an outpicturing and an ongoing of the same vibrational patterning, often much bigger now because there is a physical experience happening of it. Right? Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's like our bodies are vibrational
Yeah.
interpreters, as opposed to our
Yeah.
bodies just being fucking broken or diseased. They're diseased by the conditions within and around them. And that does not exclude what we call viruses.
Right.
That same
It's another
pattern,
level of virus. Yes. Hmm.
that same patterning.
Yeah. Basically, the negative thoughts or the experience which the person is going, like, he has been going through. So
Yeah.
we don't talk about that actually. So Jenna, like, you are from energy healing background. So you're telling me how it happens. Like, you were talking about how it happens, like how a person who had epilepsy issues, and nobody talks about, the 18 months before part, like,
Yeah.
what actually made them this. So yeah, we have a lot to study about this, like,
Hmm.
about that.
Hmm.
But how do you think, like, how do you heal these kind of persons? Like, how do you heal them?
Yeah.
Like, you are
So
from energy healing background.
that's a good question. So we look at the vibrational patterning. So again, saying that this, I'm aware that I didn't fully complete that idea, was that the vibrational patterning expressing through the body and the brain,
Mhm.
that we'd say it makes me feel powerless and dependent. Let's just make it simple. The epilepsy makes me feel powerless and dependent,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
That we say, oh, during this time period before, I was feeling powerless and dependent as well. So we look at the vibrational patterning and we work on that level of consciousness. We heal with consciousness and through consciousness, recognizing that the body has a tendency to get um, stuck in certain ways, not flowing, and we
Mhm.
want to restore the flow of well-being, which is the opposite of dis-ease. And we do that by addressing the vibrational levels of the disease. We look at how am I now in my life? Because this is where we have the power. We have our power here and now in our bodies, in our brains, in our ways of thinking, in our ways of interpreting our environment, our ways of interpreting our bodies, ways of interpreting ourselves. We look at how am
Right.
I feeling powerless and dependent right now in my life? And can I work through that? Can I acknowledge it, bring love to it? Can I embrace it and hold it and care for it and bring it compassion like it's been needing all this time, right? So if we could go back
Mhm.
and say towards the beginning when all this crap was going on in my family and my work, my brother, my sister, my parents, we really needed some attention. We can go back and we can talk to that past person, that past version of
Yeah.
ourselves, even our childhood version of ourselves, and see the beginnings and say, what did that version of myself really need? And a lot of times it just needed some compassion. It needed some
Yeah.
attention. It needed some
So basically, like, finding the small nuances, the small, like, historical effects which actually made the person, like, go into this kind of, like, disease, what you
Mhm,
said, like
mhm.
epilepsy. So understanding the small situations or small things which matter to humans, but they or we don't know it actually matters, but it is altering our brain on a different level. Like, it is making
Right.
us sad, it is making us sick, but we don't know it. So we tend to, keep on doing these things.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
like, just like it's also same, like, what the conventional or what the normal, what do you call it, like, normal, like, statement about corona, like, for example, corona. So
Yeah.
everyone is saying it is a virus, and everyone is saying, you have to get vaccinated. Just like epilepsy, like, 100 years back, everyone was saying it is a spirit, and everyone was saying, you have to just, I don't know, do some rituals, like, some rituals. So nobody actually understood the concept of understanding the small nuances. Like, it is not that, it is not, maybe you have to talk to the person to know exactly what is happening with him or her. So maybe in corona also, like, these viruses, like, there is something which we don't know. Maybe after 50 years we'll know, like, we were talking about 3D world, we are in a 3D dimension, and we know very less about the metaphysical parts of the body. We can't reach them because we are
Uh,
only restricted to five senses.
you're right. Well, we aren't restricted to five senses, and we also aren't restricted to the science as we know it right now. because we do have access to more than our five senses. We do have access to more than the parts of our brain that we've been conditioned to rely on.
Yeah.
We do have access to more than being dependent to what other people tell us is our reality.
Right. Yeah. So basically, my point, like I was trying to say, like, there is something which is happening to the world. Like it is happening to everyone. Coronavirus is like making sick everyone. It is making us all sick. And yes, some people are dying. But like only like a particular vaccination, like is it the solution to the whole world? It be the solution when we are very less researched, like very we are not we have not researched about it. We don't know the repercussions which can happen in future. We don't know anything. Like people are just, my country is like, trying to vaccinate everyone, which is a good thing. I mean, they think people are dying, but do they actually know what exactly this virus is and how did it come? Instead of blaming another country, that is very easy, by the way, blaming other people. So like, I don't know, like, because the concept of disease is very different in every 50 or like, 40, 50 years. The definition of something or like disease changes. Like the science gets developed, the medication department develops itself, the biology, we know more about biology. Like after 50 years, we get more knowledge. So then we actually know, like, no, this was this and this was that. We were actually fools, we were doing this.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
am little confused about that. Like I don't know, is vaccination is the only solution? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because we are very less researched about it.
Yeah, you're making some really strong points, and I think it's important for us to be asking these questions. And I don't know that a lot of people are really asking these questions and talking about it. And that's part of what I appreciate about talking to you, is that you're open to hearing me, and I'm open to hearing you, and we're exploring possibilities. And I don't want to say that I have the answer to that question, because I don't know that I have the answer to that question, and I'm not trying to have the answer to is vaccination the right answer, because I think it just might be the right answer for some people, and I don't want to take
Right.
away that power and that freedom that people feel for being able to get a vaccination. And if that really
Right.
works for a person, I would really want to back them up. I want to align their consciousness. I want to align my consciousness with their consciousness, with their health and their well-being. And to me, again, it comes back to consciousness. So if somebody really truly is convinced, whether it be from science or from their doctor, from what they've read, or researched on their own, what they truly believe that vaccination is their only solution, then I would say that's the right solution for them. What
Right.
I'm interested in, even more than that, or including that, but in addition to that, is to say what other solutions are there, because it's been the case of our medical field that the
Hmm.
solutions to
Hmm.
health are all about external medications and surgeries. That's really
So you being from this energy healing background, like you guys like have a lot of knowledge about these, how to consciously heal other person by maybe hearing them, by maybe knowing the reality, or maybe the things they have like, gone through their lives. So like like good, positive, and negative thoughts, like thoughts particularly, like thoughts have a lot to do with person's, like, health. I mean,
yes,
like being negative or being positive, it creates an, like, immense impact on person's health.
right.
If I'm feeling negative about something, I might be more, vulnerable towards, like, diseases.
That's right. That's right.
Right. Yeah.
Well, can I
so
talk about
so
that? Yeah, go ahead. You want to
yeah,
finish your
yeah, yeah,
question?
yeah. I want to talk about that only. Yes. So you tell me, like in Corona, like everyone is becoming negative now. Yeah.
Negative
So
in their mind,
aren't
or negative in their tests scores?
in their minds, no? They have very bad and negative thoughts, like will they
Yeah.
die? Can they die? Or like, will
Will
they
their
save
family
their
die?
families? Yeah, so this is very negative. Like we have become very negative, so very weak in a way.
Right.
That is
I hear
what I
you.
want to. Yeah.
And I want to bring compassion and care to that first before I talk about whether it's right or wrong, because that's again some of the most healing sauce we have around is just to
Right.
care. And I think essentially every conversation we have, we want to feel like the person who's listening cares. We want to feel that there's care there happening and compassion there happening. So yeah, of course it's super scary to feel like, will I die? Will my children die? Will my
Mm.
parents die? Will my loved ones, friends die from this disease? And of course, it's an important question that we probably should be asking and maybe need to be asking.
No, 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 no. You're. I mean, I was trying to say something else.
Let me
Like
get there.
you
Let
be.
me get there. Let me get there. I'm just
Yeah.
starting.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay, okay,
Okay.
okay. Okay, okay, okay.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, okay. So I wanted to start with acknowledging that the fear in that thought, the scariness of that reality, even if it's just in
Mm.
people's minds, but also to say that from the perspective of energy healing, that it's not just about the mind, although the mind is very, very powerful, and the
Right.
mind can tell the body what to do, and it all the time is actually telling the body what to do. It's all
Mm.
the time telling the body what to do, whether we're conscious of that or not, right?
Mm.
And in some ways we
Mm.
know that, we're aware of that, we can witness it. I can tell my hand to go over here, I can tell my hand to put up 5 fingers and 4 fingers and 3 fingers behind my back
Mm.
without even seeing them. I know that my body is following my orders.
Yeah. Even that's voluntary. No, even involuntary also.
Also
Like our mind
involuntary
is
as well.
always awake. Yeah.
Yeah, involuntary as well. And from the perspective of energy healing and energy medicine, we are not just physical bodies that are connected to brains, or
Mm.
brains that are connected to bodies, but we're, even more importantly, we are systems of energy. Even more important than the outpicturing of the physical material 3D plane, we are multidimensional beings that move through the world with bodies that are both physical and non-physical, meaning that we can see and perceive the body on a physical level with our 5 senses. And there's also layers of the body that are imperceptible to most people, but are still there and affecting our human experience on every level. And
Right.
they're named, each of these layers are named in correlation to how they affect our lives, how they affect our experience. There's the physical body, there's the
Mm.
emotional body, the mental body, and the spiritual body. And they become increasingly refined as they move away from the physical body. The physical body is the most dense of our bodies, and it's the most difficult to change once it's been altered on a physical level. So we tend to address physical problems with physical solutions.
Right.
And it
That's
takes
very easy to explain also. So yeah.
mhm. And it takes
Mm.
a lot more time, consciousness, awareness, willingness, and refinement of our consciousness to truly affect the body and the
Mm.
physical health of the body on that subtler plane, by working with our emotional bodies, our mental bodies, our spiritual bodies, and to really
Mm.
integrate all of that information. It doesn't have to be information in the sense of consciously interpreting it and making it into a linear understanding, but to
Right.
process and work with the harmonizing of that information, simplifying it down to a knowing, taking all the information of all the people, all the things on social media, all the things in the regular mainstream media, all the things in alternative media, all the things from our friends, all the things from our family, all the things from our doctor, all the things from our emotions, all the things from work, all the things, all the things, all the information, all the information, all the information, and simplifying it down to a simplicity of knowing, a knowing, and that's where our health can really be generated from. a knowing that we are natural beings in harmony with our own natural state of well-being, of harmony with nature, of receiving our inhales from nature as nature receives our exhales. It's a beautiful metaphor for everything. We need to return to the simplicity of our connection to nature, to each other, to our breath, to the presence, to the
Right.
nature of the wholeness, the holisticness of our health and our well-being. And for many people, it's automatic and we just get it. And for many people, we're thrown off from that knowing very easily. And in some ways, you could say that this last year and a half has been a war upon our consciousness. There has been a war upon our consciousness in this last year and a half. And I'm grateful that for the last more than 15 years of my life that I've been living in the consciousness of this knowing, because I've studied energy healing, energy medicine, holistic health, holistic healing, and I know the basic premises. It's actually extremely simple, but sometimes we need to make it complicated because our minds are already so complicated. What we've learned, what we're being taught, what we're being exposed to is so complicated. And so, you know, there's that old saying that the truth is simple and the truth will set you free. And those simple adages, I think, can sound too simple sometimes, but there's a reason why they're simple and there's a reason why they're there. But we might need to complicate things quite a bit to come back to that simplicity. The truth will set you free. And the truth is simple, actually, when we find it. So if we can also add to the possibility, all this to round up my monologue here, to come back to the possibility that we not only do we need to lean into that place of our powerlessness and our dependency on doctors and others to tell us how to be healthy, but we also need to come back to the knowing in our mind, to the knowing in our center, to the knowing of the simplicity of health and wholeness. Health, healing, and wholeness have the same root, the same etymology in the word. We come back to the knowing of our wholeness in health and the wholeness in our truth and the healing, health, wellness, wholeness as a simple way of exchanging life force with nature. Then life becomes simple again. And did we need those vaccines back 100 years ago? Maybe we did, maybe we didn't. What if we hadn't known about vaccines? Some people would have died. Some people would have lived. We're going through a disease process, and I want to call it a dis-ease process, and to continue to call it that. We are out of ease, and we have been out of ease as a human race for quite some time now. And again, if we can bring back in that analogy that we talked about with epilepsy, with the coronavirus, if I was to stand as a person who has been diagnosed, I'm not going to say whether or not that diagnosis is accurate, that's a different subject matter. A person who's been diagnosed with coronavirus, how did that diagnosis, that condition of being unwell make that person feel? And were they feeling that way beforehand already? And did it exemplify to them a lesson, a learning, a teaching that we could go, oh, I don't want to feel like that anymore. That was really sucky. And we sort of cleanse it out of our system, whether we're conscious of it or not, that we get to be cleared of that vibrational pattern of being helpless, hopeless, of being under the influence of something outside of ourselves having power over us. And come back to, I'm restoring my health. So I'll turn it over to you now, Kapil. And I want to say, since you were diagnosed with corona twice, what do you think? Yeah, what do you think is the reason that you were able to both? Well, let's start with, what is the reason you were able to overcome it?
I don't know, maybe my, I don't know, genetics are a little strong, or maybe not that weak. my antibodies, they worked. I don't know. I mean, I have no knowledge about this internal part, how my body behaved with corona. But all I know is we are like everyone is telling us anything, and just because we are scared, we tend to believe everything, which is the scary part.
Yep.
Because yeah, so that is the most scary part, because we are believing everything,
It's the
every
best,
doctor,
it's
every
one of the best
yeah.
ways to influence consciousness is to scare the shit out of a person.
Right. Yeah. So that is what I was, yeah, that is why we are talking about this, no? Like when we are scared, so yeah, we can, like go into the like mind of other people, like, and actually affect their thoughts, like make their positive thoughts into negative. So which is very sad, and which is actually making us sick for a longer period of time than corona.
Right.
Also, I have a little contradictory question. Like, you were saying about uh, inhaling and exhaling, just like nature does, and we are just normal human beings passing our time on Earth, and we should be natural. Like about the vaccine part, you said no. So, but that doesn't that like raises question on everything then, like the allopathy medicines also, like the
What's the
kind of
question?
medications, like the medication America or India for that matter has been taking for headache, for stomach ache, or for anything. Like we are doomed with medication, and it has also very adverse effects in longer term. So doesn't
Yeah.
that also yeah,
Well, I think most of
because
these I think you're answering the question as you're asking it, which is that I think most of these medications are really, really helpful on a short-term level. If you have a headache and you can't seem to figure out what you need from a holistic, healthy place, because a lot of times it's just dehydration or tension through the shoulders and the neck. If you can't solve it on your own naturally, without the medication, then take an Advil, take an ibuprofen, take what you need in order to get yourself out of pain. But if you're taking the headache medication for every day for a year, there's going to be negative
yeah,
consequences,
very negative effects, yes,
very
very
negative
negative
effects
effects,
on many,
yes.
many, many levels,
Yeah.
even
So
psychologically.
again back to the same point, like
Yes.
I am going through some shit in my life, I have negative thoughts, I don't have a job, and then I feel bad, I have stress in my mind, and then I get headache. Okay, so when I get headache, and instead of working on my bad situation, instead of working on my bad, the lifestyle, I just take a medicine, and my I just I take a blood thinner, and it just flows the blood little more faster, and then
Yeah.
it denies the real problem, which is my thoughts and my pattern of living the life. So in a way, like this, I don't know, like, and it has a very adverse effect in a longer period of time, like the
Right.
consequences, the repercussions of this medication if I tend to take it every time. And obviously, yes, I get like used to of it. The more I take it, the more I get used to of it, no, the more I
Totally.
get dependent on it.
Yeah.
So that way is also like this vaccine and this coronavirus, like it has, people have been taking a lot of medicines, like they have taken a lot of medicines, and they have,
Mhm.
like, I have a couple of friends who are going through side effects of these, a lot of steroids which they took while being on this corona medication. So that also, like, symbolically, like, proves your point, like, we are not trying to solve the problem by understanding the thoughts, the negative impacts, or the, like, the holistic nature of this particular disease, but we are
Yeah.
just taking medicines because we are very scared. And the person who's maybe smarter than us, powerful, maybe not exactly smarter but powerful than us, tells us, if you do this, you'll be saved, and we do it without questioning them.
Sounds like a
So that is
religion.
also very sad. Yeah.
Sounds just like a religion, doesn't it?
It is like a religion, yes. Money is the strongest religion, no?
I think we should create
So
a religion called something that had to do with money.
what? Jainism.
Moneyism.
Jainism. We create
No,
religion on your name. So
that's
you will
so
be
sweet.
teaching us energy healing.
Okay, I'll start a
Yeah.
religion, but I'm going to start
Yeah.
tomorrow. Yeah. So again, I want to say, I think, allopathic medicine definitely has its place, but ideally that place is in that sort of like short term acute treatment. Acute treatment. I'm so cute. Such a cute treatment. It's such a cute treatment. But in order to achieve long-term health, we really have to include all aspects of ourselves, which include the mind, the emotions, the spiritual self.
The
And it
spiritual self,
takes
yes, the thoughts,
work.
yes.
It takes work and it takes self-responsibility. And I'm not going to say it's easy, but being sick and dependent upon pharmaceuticals to me is way harder. It's just way harder.
And just and these like corona vaccines or medications that they're just adding to allopathy, right? They're just adding, like,
Yeah.
we just buy more and more medicines because we are scared.
Hmm. They're adding
Yeah.
to our dependency and
Yeah,
powerlessness.
yeah,
So
exactly.
I
Right.
think, also, I think we need to wrap it up because I think our time might be up soon. I'm not sure, but I want to add to, we were talking about epilepsy and how that can make people feel powerless and dependent. And I think it's a beautiful metaphor again for what's going on with Corona. And I also want to compassionately acknowledge the level of powerlessness
Right.
and
So,
dependency.
yeah.
Hold on. Shush. Cállate la boca. That was my Spanish with an Indian accent. That I want to compassionately acknowledge people's feelings of powerlessness and
Mm,
dependency upon external sources, forces for their freedom, health,
mm.
well-being, and um, empowerment and ability to live in the world. So I think that's, at the root of some of the manifestation of this. And we can, something that you and I also talked about that was amazing was talking about how, people are saying that the virus began in China. And
Mm.
if we look at the culture of China and what's been going on in China for a long time, they have been in an agreement with a lot of the world, certainly with the United States, to be in a position of enslavement. So, you could look at the labels on so much of our clothes, of our furniture, of so many household items, and they're made in China. Why are they all made in China? Why are so many things made in China? Because they have agreed, Chinese people have agreed to be from the level of an American perspective, enslaved, working incredibly long hours, incredibly
Easily
hard
available.
for really, really, really low pay. And
Mm.
so there is dependency and powerlessness in that. And so we could say, yeah, that's the beginning of the dis-ease, is the disempowerment of the Chinese people that we have participated in. And so, yeah, of course, it fucking came over here. We started it. We've been enslaving the Chinese people, and they've been in an agreement. So if we can, break up some of that enslavement, that I believe that will be part of the healing of Corona, even if that sounds like a far-reaching thing for people. If you're looking at it from a
Mm.
perspective of consciousness, it's direct cause and effect. You can bring in these multidimensional perspectives and bring them right back into cause and effect, because the 3D does exist within the multidimensional perspective. It's not separate from it. It's, again, like the human energy field. The body exists within the multidimensional aspect of ourselves. It's not
Mm.
separate from it, but we can
Right.
solely focus on the 3D level of our
Mm.
existence, of our bodies and our health. But it's, in many ways, it's just not enough. But we can really feel a lot of liberation in our lives when we recognize that we are multidimensional beings having this physical experience or identifying in a physical experience.
Mm.
Okay, sorry, go you talk.
Yeah, so I was just thinking, like, whatever you said, like, it has a lot of meaning, though, like, yeah, we are not sure about what we are saying, both, but it's very beautiful of you to make me understand a different perspective altogether. And yes, I mean, I understood this virus or maybe any disease in a particular, like, different manner this time.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't have any background of energy healing, but yeah, I get your, like, I get your points, which is
yeah,
good because maybe you made me understood in a very simpler way.
yeah,
So that's very beautiful. Also, I would like to, to sum it up this conversation. Also, I would like to know, like, something which you want to say about this pandemic. The world is going through the bad phase, and we are believing everything because we are very scared. We
yeah,
are very scared. That is for sure. We are very scared. Not because we are scared, like, we are like fearful, but because we love our family. So we like tend to get scared easily, no? So
Yeah.
that ways, like I want you to like, tell us
Acknowledge it.
something like, yeah, no, I mean, how do we make ourselves feel a little better? Like we are
Yeah.
already going through a bad phase. So you know a lot about this. So I want you
Yeah.
to, I mean, tell me, or I'll show it to my friends also this video, like my friends, like, how do we come out of this?
Okay. Well, I don't know that I have the one answer or that there is a the one answer, but I would really like to answer your question.
Hmm.
So, to begin with, is to start by having compassion for ourselves that, yeah, we've been feeling really scared and we've been given a number of reasons, many, many reasons to be really scared. And also to know that there is great power in the fear, whether it's coming from within, from without, from outside, or if it's coming from within. There's a tremendous amount of power in that fear. And so, if we can move in the direction, whether it be mentally or physically, in the direction of relieving
Hmm.
our fear. If that means taking the vaccine for you, then do what you need to do to flush out the toxins that are coming with the vaccine. If you've already taken the vaccine, take care of your liver, take care of the toxic overload that's coming with the vaccine to flush out the liver. And that can be through juicing, through zeolites, which you can buy online. Take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, physically. Find ways to relieve your fear, find ways to relieve the stress, connect with people who you respect and who bring you peace and relief. Get out and break some of the rules sometimes and fucking talk to people without a mask, including the mask that we ordinarily,
Right, right,
as our
right, right.
identity, as our makeup, as our
Yeah.
whatever thing we're putting in our appearance to sparkle ourselves up. Take away your fucking sparkles and take away your mask and say, this is how I fucking feel. I feel scared. I feel hopeless. I feel helpless. I feel desperate. And coupled, that's what you did for me today. And that's what initiated this conversation. If you remember, you did that for
Right.
me.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And, and also to keep reminding yourself that you're going to be okay, even if it feels like a lie at first. What you say to yourself, your mind, is all the time moving and conducting and changing your body. Use your mind for good. Even if 90% of the time it's going through, oh my God, we're fucked. We're all fucked. This is a fuck time. We're all going to fucking die, which a lot of
Then
us
we
are
are already dead then maybe.
we'll all be dead maybe by some point. We're all going to die anyway. So if we can make peace
Don't
with the
make fun
worst
of
case,
my accent, okay?
so sorry.
We'll all be dead. What is this?
I'm so sorry. Can I say I'm making fun with your accent? I'm embarrassed.
No, no,
I
I
apologize.
was just saying it. I'm
I apologize.
none taken, none taken.
I love your
Yeah, yeah. So
accent. I
you
have
were
great
saying
respect
something.
for
No,
it.
I was just making this little funny. It's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, because that
Okay.
was funny. Yeah.
Okay. So we have to use our mind for good, even if it's only for 10% of the time. So if it's for 10% of the time, we're like, I've been thinking really negatively. And if we can make peace with all of our negative thoughts that, yeah, we're all going to die eventually. Can I make peace with the fact that I'm also going to die eventually? That maybe the human race is going to be in extinction? Can I be okay with that thought? No, then I'm not going to think it. I'm going to think I'm going to be okay. I am moving my hand. I am going to be okay. We place our hands on our body. Our hands contain minor chakras. We have the primary chakras through the center of our body, as most people know about now. We also have energy centers or secondary chakras through the fingertips and the palm. We put our hands on our bodies where we feel tension or fear, anxiety, and we comfort ourselves and we find ways to reinstill the flow of prana, chi, life force energy that's happening in the trees all the time, that's happening in nature all the time. We get in our own way of our own health. Okay. So a tree gets a disease, it can heal itself with its own inner intelligence. It doesn't need a tree doctor. So we just come back to the flow of our nature, breathing comfortably again, crying when we need to cry, laughing to create some biochemistry that supports health and joy and flow. crying, laughing, talking, eating whole foods, breathing full breaths, breathing oxygen, not carbon dioxide that's from your own lungs. How can we feel better about our fear? We talk about it. Talk about it with trusted friends. Get a therapist if that's available to you where you live. Take care of yourself holistically, mentally, emotionally, physically, as well as emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Honor yourself and love yourself through all that this time is for you as an individual, for you as a family member, for you as a human in this human race. We're all feeling each other, whether we're aware of our sensitivities or not. And some of us are a lot more sensitive than others. So we got to really, really take care of ourselves on all these levels.
Right.
And laugh sometimes at ourselves, laugh at the funniness of the human experience, you know? The
Yeah.
cosmic joke that we're just dreaming this dream together. Okay, that's the end. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I was just processing, you have said a lot of things and it was very beautiful. Like it was very beautiful of you to say all these things, how to heal yourself. And it was good. It was great talking to
Very
you.
great. So great.
Yeah. Very great.
Do your American
Yeah.
accent now. You can make fun of me.
So,
Get me back.
no, I want to that.
That's good. It's perfect. Okay, thank you.
No,
So
I
much.
can't. No, like I can't. Yeah. See?
I think we did what we set out to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, high five.
Give me my money. Give me my money.
Where's the money?
Give me my money.
Where is the money?
Where is the money?
Okay, thank you, couple. Appreciate you.
Okay, thank you, Jana. Thank you so much. It was a great talk, and
Thank
we
you
look
for
great.
joining me from Delhi,
Yeah.
India. I hope you go to
Great
sleep
from
now.
Delhi.
You've been.
Sorry?
I hope you will go to sleep now.
Yes, I'll go to sleep now. I'll be very happy. I'll be thinking about what you have said, and it is very good. Yeah.
Very good.
And I'll try to apply what you have said. Yes, I won't get easily negative or easily affected by others. I'll try to change my perspective. Yes. And dependency on medications also.
Yeah. And
I'll try to
remember
aware.
to know what you know at the center of the well-being of your nature. The center of the well-being of your nature is well-being. There is well-being here. This guy over here might argue, and this guy and this guy and this girl even. But you got to come back to the well-being of your knowing, the center of your well-being, the center of your knowing. I am well.
You unknowingly pointed at Saraswati.
No, I tickled her.
Okay.
In the neck. Look, she's smiling. She likes it. Oh, she likes it. Okay, thanks, couple. I think we should hang up before we get disconnected.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate
so much.
you. Truly, I appreciate you.
Bye, Jenna. Bye. Take care.
Thank you. Okay. Bye, couple.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Sleep well.